are here in the Man Cave. We were on hiatus for 1 week, and we were just talking about how, gosh, 2 weeks since we spoke last here on the channel, and it seems like an eternity. And we've been consistent. I mean, I was just thinking back, we started this channel back in November of 2017, and we're at like cumulative maybe 35, 36, 37 episodes. So congrats for us.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Glad to have you, the audience, listeners, here with us. Any new listeners, any repeat listeners. This is the Man Cave, and just if you haven't been here before, this is just a space that Cedric and I decided to commit ourselves to open up topics for us as men, to be authentic, to be real, to cry, to laugh, to kind of be maybe parts of us that oftentimes as men we don't always feel is our place or the right thing to do, or maybe something we may not be accepted for because of some of the things we talk about. But I think I'm definitely one that feels these are things that men would like to talk about. I think we just try to create this forum that that you, the listener, or you that may be interested in kind of looking at different perspectives from a man as a woman, or a man listening in, just creating that opportunity for our own thoughts, our own authentic feelings. And we've always just kind of felt what a great place and a great space for us to commit as men in our lives to be that. So feeling pumped, feeling 2 weeks of excitedness, and I've got my main man, Cedric Edison, on the other side. So I'm going to say a hello to him and have him check in here.
What's up, y'all? Man, it's good to be back. Feel like we've been gone forever, but at the same time, not that long. It's kind of weird. Man, so we welcome you guys into the Man Cave. Hope you find yourselves comfy, kick your feet up. But yeah, man, I feel like we got a lot of stuff to get off our mind, just to catch up, talk, see what's out there, put some good stuff out there, and get vulnerable where men around topics that men I think we really want to talk about, but we're just afraid for whatever reasons, or it could be a number of stuff, may not have the right people. But so I'm glad we kind of have this space and created it back. Man, it's almost a year. That's crazy. It does not feel like it's been almost a year yet.
No.
Oh, I feel like we just started the other day. Like, it feel like it's been like 2 months. I'm like, hey, yeah, November will be a year. That's crazy.
And we're slowly inching towards our goal of being live on Facebook on our channel. There's still some logistics to figure out, some costs involved. So just trying to kind of set ourselves up for that to be kind of the norm in the future. So lots of things to come. I think we're not looking at this just being a short-term thing, but just a long-term commitment to our friendship, to us as men. We've got our whole life ahead of us to experience these thoughts and feelings that we put out there, to share with you, to share with our families, to share with our friends. And kind of a topic that just came into mind, and kind of similar to what Cedric was thinking as we spoke before we got on the air here, is around insecurity or insecurities. And we all have them. We all have areas of our life that don't feel right. They don't feel like it's warm and cozy and easy to express or easy to experience. Even the show, if I sat here a year ago and thought, here I am putting myself in a situation where anybody could tune in and just kind of see what we're putting out there and have judgment, have a whole kind of thoughts around what we say is something they believe in, or something they are able to even feel is a valid way to process something in their life. So this show has been just a huge kind of something that if I look at insecurities in my life, is something that I would feel there's still some challenges around that, putting myself in social situations, having some insecurities around just, am I expressing myself my authentic way, and not just kind of being kind of on the periphery and really not being mindful of being fully engaged in situations and not feeling those uncertainties around, insecurity. So, so I was really just kind of trying to dig deep within myself and just to be completely authentic with myself. Probably my biggest insecurity would be around more my facial features, not facial figure. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to be completely honest with situations where I feel, I wouldn't say lesser than, but just where I sometimes judge myself and feel like others may hone in. So I had a condition on my nose probably maybe 10, 12 years ago. It's called rhinophyma. So what it is like pustules or areas that can become enlarged due to sensitivity to heat, sensitivity to other environmental factors that cause these bumps. They almost look like pimples type thing. And it just kind of evolved into something that I just at one point kind of felt like, wow, this is not. I look back at pictures of myself and said, that's not the nose that I grew up with. That's not the thing. That when I look at myself in the mirror, obviously we get older, we get wrinkles and all these things that are just natural. But at that point, I was like, I wonder what this is all about. So I looked into, what options I had to kind of reshape the nose to get it back to where it was, back to being the normal shape of my nose. So they actually did a procedure where they shaved down the bridge of my nose to kind of get it back to the original shape. But in doing that, what happened was they exposed many of the pores, deeper in the skin that have never really kind of completely, kind of closed up. They're just pores because this, kind of that, removal of that skin. So that's been something that's, been part of my life. I've definitely been able to, as I've grown as a man and know that I'm not my face, I'm not this body, I'm not, these thoughts that I have, kind of understanding more about who I am as a man and as a human being on this earth. I've really traveled a long way in my mind about how I process that. So, doing the show, speaking with people up close, just, kind of allowing that part of me that doesn't feel judged about what my nose looks like or feel judged about, getting older or all these things that as appearance, we sometimes feel like we're not what we used to be or we're not what we should be. So, so when I thought about this topic, it's like, I'm not going to play small. I'm not going to just pick something that feels warm and fuzzy and something that I can just share that, everybody be like, oh, that sounds cool. That's not a big deal. But, a very sensitive place on my face that obviously you have a conversation and the nose is there. And so that's one of my insecurities that I feel comfortable talking about. And I would be lying to you, Cedric, or lying to you, the audience, if it doesn't at times still, become something that I become more aware of and not necessarily get judgmental of, but just know that it's been something that I've had to learn to accept that that's not what defines me. There's so many more things about who I am as a man that I know is who I truly am, in my spirit and in my whole, the way I express myself and just me as a man. So that's, that's probably my top insecurity in my life, just more around a visual part of my life. So Cedric, you were sharing a little bit about some insecurities before we got on the air. So I'm interested what might be something that digs deep in your life that you're a little insecure about.
Oh, man, if I was to look at it like as a, like I was saying before, right before we jumped on the air, one of my mental, I guess you could say, insecurities is not feeling adequate enough. And for you guys, like what we were talking about, I got called out on a challenge on Facebook to do like a Facebook live post or just post a video for over the course of 100 days. And being a coach, as I look at printed material, I'm surrounded by all types of material that I can just pick up and read. but when I just kind of look at the whole uh, challenge, I feel like I don't have enough curated content, and it just makes me just so uncomfortable. Just like, oh my God, like I don't have the content. How am I going to be able to do this? Like I already have all these other challenges and all this stuff going on. When am I going to be able to find the time? And I don't want to have to start over. And so I just feel really insecure about it. And crazy as it is, we do this every week. But one of my physical insecurities is my mouth. Because well, a lot of y'all, I kind of changed it up a little bit. I used to have gold teeth in my mouth, and then those kind of, I got those kind of taken care of. But if you don't know, they kind of file your teeth down a little bit to be able to cement them in. And really how they came out is because I have bruxism, where I grind my teeth, and so it basically broke up the cement in there. And then they just finally fell out on their own from me grinding my teeth all the time. But what happened is now the teeth are exposed and they file down, and they're just not as white as the other one. And one of them actually came out. So, and I used to hear all the time, oh, you have this pretty smile. And it started out, I used to smile like this, I would cover the smile, but over time, I'm getting more comfortable with it, because it's like, oh, hey. And it's really the stuff I tell myself, because in my head, I'm like, man, you're a health coach and you're talking about being healthy and doing all this stuff. And then I don't have a healthy or quote unquote healthy smile. So I'm like, man, that bothers me sometimes. It's like, and it can hold me back, because it makes me afraid to approach people. Then I have to go through this whole coach sequence in my head.
Yeah.
And I find that even sitting here, when I'm chilling with my boo, like, sometimes I smile and want to put I'm like, no, pick your head up, man. Like, she doesn't necessarily care about that, So
Yeah, and I think when we typically experience others that may have, what they might consider a flaw, whether it's, this or that, and then they express themselves like it just doesn't bother them at all. They just are who they are. How wonderful that feels to experience that, where they don't have that hang up, at least that they're showing when they're in that situation. We don't know, obviously they leave a conversation and they may have, these same insecurities like we're having, where we're able to kind of identify them and speak about them, or share them type thing. But I think we seem to find a way to, kind of like with the mask of masculinity, right? Just how we wear certain things, or we hide certain things, or we, turn our head a certain way, or we keep a distance where maybe you don't see the pores as closely as you would if you're up close. But I think, when you really kind of take a step back as human beings, as men, as, what we try to really put out there in the world, how much of that really matters, in the big scope of things, about, how we try to just, like for me, knowing my purpose is to, co-create a world of love, hope, and connection. So what does my facial features have to do with that? Absolutely nothing. So, we all should feel a desire in our life to know what our purpose is, right? To know why we're on this earth. What is our, why do we wake up each morning, or what do we wake up each morning to fulfill in our life, to create, a vision and experience where we're contributing to life. We're contributing to, love. We're contributing to all these things that are the goodness in the world. And none of those things those things that we typically have insecurities about have anything to do with that, right? I mean, it's how we can share who we are as a human being, as a spiritual person that expresses love and all these things that I feel that are innate qualities in us. None of those things matter. And you look at you look at people, we listen to Sean Stevenson, and how, he and others like him, have something that might be different about them that creates so much power as far as who they can be as individuals in other people's lives. It's just, for us to obviously be aware of those insecurities and not judge them, just to know that that's somewhat normal to have, some areas that you don't necessarily feel are your best attributes, but not to focus on that as being what defines you. Your smile, which, is awesome to see. And I love, when you get on the channel here and share your smile. It's not just about the smile, it's the energy that comes from you when you put that. It's the light that comes off of you when you express that. So, the smile itself is part of it, but I think it's just that energy that you put out there. And I know that's part of what I feel is my, part of who I am, and an attribute of me that I think is something that I feel good about is, the energy that I put out there, the willingness to, some more and more, not so much in the past, but more and more just kind of laugh at myself and just, I am what I am. If you don't like it, then that's okay. The whole adage, what you think of me is none of my business type thing. And I'm okay with who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'm wondering, because I know when I can look back at the beginning stages of changing, what I was noticing about a lot of my own insecurities, it was a lot of stuff that I would judge other people on, which in turn, if I saw those same things, I would just think that they would judge me about those things.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, to look back, and sometimes the strongest ways we look at people, and it could be, something as small as, how we look at the physical appearance and we judge people off of that, or their financial situation, or their education, because there's been times I've been insecure that way too. Like, well, wait a minute, I'm a coach. This is, or whatever, wherever, along the line of life. Just, well, how am I supposed to talk to them about this? And they're making more than what I'm making right now. So how am I supposed to talk to them about the money game? Or how am I supposed to do this? And they pulled up in a Mercedes, and here it is. I'm pulling up in my old faithful, that type of stuff.
Right.
But when I look back, I can remember when the roles were reversed, and I would kind of look down on people a little bit, and like, oh, I have my new car, or I'm wearing my new clothes. And I wouldn't say I necessarily looked down on them. I was just judgmental about it. Like, oh, I judge people like, oh, okay, well, they're driving, a little Dodge Caravan 92, and here I am, I'm in my Lexus RX 350 and that was at the time. No, right. And y'all kind of know my story, even though I got it all wrong. Being able to just like, oh, that's cute. They'll get it one day. And now that, it's turned again, and I can see that sometimes. And I was just wondering, do you find that to be true for you sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely, because it's almost like when we project onto others, and that's usually something about us, we will point out, like you said, something that they're lesser than, to remove that focus on us, because then it doesn't feel so threatening, because we're not the focus of the attention. Those are all points of, where we feel lesser than, and it's not a comfortable feeling. I mean, I think, if I look back in life, that's kind of how we experience through, our growing up, the messages on TV, what we hear in the news, all these, how people, how the beautiful people are portrayed in the media. There's not a whole lot of emphasis on, what really makes us amazing human beings. So if I didn't have, what you felt were the most, important attributes to look at, would you still listen to what I had to say? We brought this up, in the past about just, different sexual preferences, and would you listen to this channel if you knew, something that wasn't in connection with how you looked at what, how people should live their life. And I think, how do we as individuals feel like our judgments are much more important than anybody else's. And we seem to think that, we want to almost at times create insecurities in others so that we don't have to feel that we're lesser than. We can kind of feel like, hey, there's, you've got a bigger nose than me, or you've got a worse smile than me, or, you've got a bigger butt than me, or whatever it is, that creates the comparison versus, all the things that were so similar in nature. And how, when we talk about life being so short and how we can create more connection with others, how can we show acceptance for those things, to make that person that feels that insecurity in their life feel you're just as much of an amazing person as I am. Even if I have this or that and you don't, that has nothing to do with how amazing of a person that you actually are. And I think that's very important. I think, at the end of the day, when we lay our head on our pillow and go to sleep at night, or our last breath of our life, what is that thought going to be? Is it going to be about what I look like? Is it going to be about what I drive? Is it going to be about what, it's going to be what, for me at least, I'm hoping that my last thoughts are, obviously I love my family and appreciate and so value what I've been able to experience on this physical earth with them. But also, what have I done as a human being to create love and connection and hope with others? And that, again, that's so detached from insecurities of appearance, or insecurities of, like you said, of how much money you make, or insecurities about, anything else that you feel lesser than in your life. Yeah.
Man, when you was talking, man, a couple of things popped into mind. I was like, man, it almost sounds like, because you were saying something about where, we think our judgments are more important than the others. And I was like, man, it almost sounds like a type of superiority complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all of this is me looking back to why I say it can kind of be that, and for me, what kind of helped change that. Because I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, everybody wants to feel like they're at the peak, they're at the top of their game. And if you're not, or you're around somebody, you try and find things that's either gonna make you guys in line with each other, have something in common. And if you're beneath them, then you have to find something to kind of bring them back down to your level, versus looking at stuff at you that can elevate you to be equal with them. And I'm like, well, wow. I know I kind of went through that phase a little bit, and I don't know, it's probably a human thing and evolution we go through, just how we experience life and pain and hurt and love and all the other good stuff, because it's so common that you see it. You can look on Facebook and you just see a bunch of negativity, people talking, well, at least on my thread and some of the people I know, it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, like, you're talking about this person and that person, and a little bit of comedy, but that's a realm for that.
Right.
But then I'm like, what helps me in those times now is my why. Because before then I didn't really even have a why. I was just kind of going through life, and I just didn't want to struggle. That was like my only why, man. Okay, I just want to be the man. I want to, be known but not known as the dude with all the drugs and with all the money, all the girls, all the whatever. And that was, that wasn't a substantial why. But now, after the surgery and being homeless and all of that stuff, is, man, I just want to help people. So now it's like, it might cross my mind about the money, and it's like, oh, okay, well, what's your why? Then I lock into it. All right. and you do a little bit more, and honestly, sometimes you're just blessed with it. You know, it just comes your way. Or, man, who cares about your smile? Then it may not be something about me, but it's talking to you or somebody in our network from school, and just hearing some positive words of affirmation. Man, people just resonate with you. People just want to hear you. And then it's like the thought of my smile goes out the window. Or even sometimes, like, I have gauges like, you're 4 years old. Like, man, people don't care about that. You know, I care about it, and that's what's holding. I have to get out of my own way and then latch into my why. And that kind of helps, you know, overshadow all of that negativity around the judgments or insecurities, for me at least sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And kind of like with coaching, you know, we understand that what's the phrase? Small hinges swing big doors. You know, as human beings, you know, we don't necessarily need to feel like we need to do major things in our lives as we experience others, and seeing how they may be insecure about something to make a huge difference on that person's life. You know, an authentic, you know, just acknowledgement of them as a human being, or just noticing or acknowledging something that's a great attribute about that person, where it removes that focus of maybe something that they're not feeling completely comfortable about, and maybe they feel like that defines them more than something that you notice and say, man, you got beautiful hair. I mean, the dress you're wearing today is just amazing. I mean, all those things that we can do on a daily basis when we connect and interact with others, that can, you know, create those ripples like we're doing as coaches to create change within somebody's own experience of being, you know, uncertain of how they're viewed, you know, from afar. You know, I think as disconnected as life or as people are nowadays with, you know, just technology and all the things that go along with that, there's so much of this inability to really share into, you know, connective moments to where you can really, you know, kind of create that space for, you know, understanding and growth. So, you know, I think that's where us, the listeners, people in the world, have to, you can be willing to, you know, do those subtle things in our own lives and other people's lives to keep that fire burning, that light that creates the, you know, who we are as individuals, not, you know, kind of revert to just as life goes on, this is just the way it's going to be because technology is taking over and now we have all these ways to communicate effectively, but it's not really creating any type of intimate or deeper connection with individuals. And that's where our growth is. That's where our opportunities to understand our insecurities and be authentic and be able to express them. I mean, you know, for me to share and you to share, Cedric, about some of the things that we're sharing, you know, those aren't easy things for us to put out there. And if we were just having a conversation, just you and I, even that's not completely comfortable. I mean, I think it's more comfortable because we've established a friendship and we trust each other and we can be vulnerable, you know, in that situation. But, you know, we're doing this on a YouTube channel and we're putting ourselves out there for our 30 plus listeners that we know, you know, sometimes listening to us, to just listen to what words we're putting out there. And, you know, if that can be a spark for you, or anybody else out there to, you know, take that next step towards, you know, creating that space, creating that growth or that opportunity for somebody to feel a little bit better about themselves, you know. So you, the listener, you know, things that you do that you feel insecure about, you know, really understand how that doesn't define you. Those thoughts, you know, kind of like that we've had a discussion around thoughts. You know, we're not our thoughts. So these thoughts of lesser than, our insecurities about who we are, you know, that's not what defines you. And as we then move into connections and conversations and experiences with others, you know, we have that ability to make it maybe a different response or a different, you know, pose a different question or make a better comment that's going to be nourishing for everybody involved, not just about you, but what can I say or do in a conversation that's going to create space for that individual to maybe put a smile on their face, or to allow them to walk away feeling a little bit better about themselves than they did when they first ran into you or connected with you.
Man, beautiful. I'm like, wow, all right. I don't even know how to follow that up.
but I think that's, I guess, as we have these conversations, right? We put our authentic thoughts out there, and then we close up the laptop, we post the podcast, or we post post what we're doing, and then we got to go out and live life. So, it's not just talking the talk. It's, what steps am I going to take as we leave this conversation, and, then take action. Because I think we could all talk about all these great things that we can do as human beings to change the world, one person at a time. But if it's just that, then, it's not worthless. It's better than talking about something negative and all the bad stuff in the world. But, don't we owe it to ourselves to then take action to create that change, that inevitable success for others to experience, as well as ourselves.
Right. Sometimes, man, that's the hardest part about doing this show is preaching to yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to practice what you preach, and it's like, yeah, I did put that out there in the universe. But then other times it's like, okay, just some stuff you have worked on, and just knowing that, hey, I got to keep at it, keep doing it, and getting better and better. And I always think insecurity is going to be an ongoing theme, because it's really all just a thought process.
Right.
And I haven't reached that enlightenment to where I can control what pops in my head.
Right.
It's just at a level now I can just be mindful of what stuff pops in my head and try to work my way through it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways I deal with it. And I love that we put this out here for you guys, because right now, if you're listening to it, your brain's on fire and it's probably going. But just like if you go to a motivational speech, I know I feel it when we go to our live events. Sometimes you're just amped up, but then what happens now? You run and say the laptop's closed, or you're not surrounded by all of that like energy. Then what?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm glad we have this, because now hopefully something, if it's just a little bit, can resonate and you can work on it. Because, insecurities are really just our own thoughts about ourselves.
And we never know when they're going to come up, right? We could just be feeling amazing, having the best day of our life, and then one thing happens and we're like, but, in that situation, when that old feeling comes up, and we've talked about this before, how about if you change how you react to it and just be like, there it is. Okay.
Right.
There's that feeling. There's that energy that I feel in my head, in my heart, in my arm, wherever that energy is. And you know that's the same energy that happened last time. That's the same. I'm ready to create the same reaction that I always have, because that's all I know how to do, right? I know I play it well. I can play this card and know exactly what happens. But what happens if I, take that moment and just kind of sit in it and just, wow, there's that 2:00 thought again, or that 2:00 insecurity that comes up this time of day. What's that all about? How is that serving me to grow as a human being? What maybe different mindset can I create in my life to, allow for a different result? But it's crazy, because I think we meaning a lot of people in the world, just push the easy default button, because they, it's that whole comfort of what the result's going to be. It doesn't oftentimes feel comfortable to do something different than you always have, even if it's the right thing, because there's still that, can I do it again? Now I've made this decision and I've got this different result and it feels great, but oh my God, why? This is kind of scary, because now this is going to be the expectation, versus going back to, wow, I've always done it this way. And I know if I take this negative reaction or how I process it the way I always have, and I get this desired result, even though it doesn't feel good, it's okay because I know it's comfortable. It's, you know, it's that same feeling I've had that doesn't, you know, isn't necessarily the right feeling, but it's not as much anxiety almost because it's, you know, it's the feeling we've always experienced.
Yeah. It almost alleviates the anxiety.
Yeah.
So I hit the easy/lazy button. I really don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and it's the old cliche thing, man, that you hear like anything worthwhile is going to require change, and change require work. We hear it all the time, but when you break it down, you know, the same thoughts we've been having, it's real easy just to keep thinking those same things. Or now the change happens and it's going to be real hard to get to the state where you have to be mindful of it. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I have to do a little bit of something different. But as I look back, I'm a true testament of it. Everything that was actually worth something took a little bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just doing a school play, you had to go to practice, rehearsals, and you had to do that. If you didn't go to rehearsals, it would have been a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
Or sports, you know, when playing sports, if you didn't go to practice, you're going to play shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have natural born talent, you don't know the plays that they're going to be caught. Whatever the case may be, you got to put in a little bit of work. Mm-hmm. And the what if factor, and it's, you know, now, what if the one thing that I'm telling myself is the one thing that people really want to know about me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, what if, you know, it's the rhino fascia that could resonate with somebody? Because if you're thinking about it, or my body weight, or whatever the case may be, that one thing could be the one thing that helps somebody, or helps you connect with somebody that can help you through whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding that more and more often, because I used to be afraid of my story. Like, man, and I think I don't know if we talked about it on the show, or if it was something we talked about, you know, in one of our conversations, where I didn't want to tell people about me being in the gang and selling drugs. I never really wanted to tell people, because I always thought, well, I'm in the positive light. I'm in the positive world. People want to hear positive. They don't want to hear all that bad stuff. But the more and more I step into that, I'm finding, well, holy shit.
Right.
People resonate with that. They don't want to hear all the bad parts, and I'm not trying to glorify all the bad parts, but it's to bring to mind that, hey, you can be a bad person and you can come here, because a lot of people may not have sold drugs, but they've been in that spot to where they feel desperate. They may not have actually took a gun out and shot at people, but they probably at that point to where they're angry and they want to hurt somebody. Hey, I've been there, but now here I am, and I'm a mindful person. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy just how much, you know, people can resonate with that old stuff and still apply it to their life. So that's what I would submit to you guys that's listening. What if mm-hmm. the one thing you're thinking about yourself negatively is the one thing that people really want to see from you, mm-hmm. connect with you?
Yeah. Or even the whole, you know, what if I let go of this thought of lesser than, you know, what if I change that to being a positive message? You know, what are the opportunities, or what is the possible outcomes with that? And I was, as you were saying that, I'm thinking, you know, as you, the listeners, listen in, what we would hope, I guess our hope for you would be to listen, to possibly learn, but then to take action, to not just look at this space that we create for us to, you know, kind of be authentic men having these conversations, but to be willing to take action in your life, to, you know, do something that scares you, to, you know, share like we are with somebody else, maybe some insecurities that might make you feel a little bit differently about how others view you, versus just keeping all those thoughts internally and not willing to see how others might react to it, and how it might release some of that energy that is keeping you, you know, holding you back from moving forward in your life. You know, we go through it all the time, and we we continually look at how, Cedric and I, how we can become better versions of ourselves. Where I don't think either one of us is ever going to be content with, we've reached that plateau where we can just look back and feel like this is it. I think we've committed ourselves as men to be always willing and able and have that desire to just do more, to do better, to give, to love, to, all these things that we have the innate ability to do till our dying day, and not feel like that old age or situations are going to not allow us to be that authentic men that we know that we are and we know that we strive to be. And we so appreciate just this opportunity to share with you, the listener, and share your story. I mean, again, we just decided to do this. You probably have as much or sometimes even more wisdom in areas that we have brought attention to that can be an insight to somebody else in your life. So again, we're not looking for necessarily comments to say, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Maybe more, wow, this gave me the ability to connect with somebody else, and now I'm opening up the door for opportunities with that person, or that person is now growing because of what I've maybe been able to allow to let go in my life. And that's all I can ask for in my life, is to be the best person I can be, and to give others, or allow others to really recognize that they have that ability too. I'm no magician. I don't have any magical mystical powers that can make all these things happen for you. It's just more, I try to create, and Cedric tries to create, and others try to create, or open up your awareness to what is available to you, because you all have it in you, and you all have the ability to step forward. And I truly appreciate every time we've done this. I missed last week. I was on vacation, just logistically weren't able to connect, but I so love this channel, so love doing these podcasts, so love my time with Cedric, so love the listeners that do listen in and share, and yeah. I'm getting a little sentimental here.
Yeah, man. Well, I like that. Take action. Take action. One of the most important things, one of the most important takeaways I always wish for with the channel, because I know I take action sometimes, not as soon as I should.
I have to kick Cedric in the butt sometimes to take some action.
Yeah, I have gotten a text like, get off your ass. So I have got those, please believe.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's, even if it's for yourself or action of sharing it with somebody, that's all I can hope and pray for, that this reaches somebody at some point, and it helps them along the way, and I hope that they can pass it along, because this will be here long after we gone. I'm pretty sure technology will find a way to keep it up, somewhere in the archives.
Right.
So it's when I look at it from that way, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that we're able to put this out there for you guys and for us. Yeah, man, I just love it every day, and because I'll be going on and on now because I'm getting that.
We're gonna start getting all sappy, so maybe we should say our goodbyes before we.
I know, right?
We don't want to show the side of ourselves that we're too soft. It is the man. This is the man cave. Come on.
Right, we are all that is man.
That's right. Next week we're gonna talk about steel, thunder, power.
Makes me think about that Tim Allen character,
Just kidding. We're gonna talk about love again.
And unicorns and rainbows.
And unicorns and everything pretty. No, we're about due for a deep topic. So I think don't expect all these episodes to be so enlightening as some are, but we know there's lots of other areas for us to tap into that are kind of challenging the opposite way, just more of those darker moments or darker experiences that we all have in our lives to really step forward in. So,
yeah.
Good nights to you. Love you, brother. Love you, audience. And we will see you next week.
Yeah, next week, y'all. It's been a pleasure. Namaste. Ron, love you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Good
Next
night.
week.
All right.
Controversy really got me tripping. Trying to save a life, having thotties in my mentions. Flexing for the gram, late like Popeye with the spinach. I've been at this for a